Change the face of the entertainment industry. Production companies are looking to hire you on AccessRealWorld.ca, North America's largest hiring and networking database for Canadian Black, Indigenous, and people of color creatives. Get hired at AccessRealWorld.ca.
Hi, my name is Gabriella Sundar-Singh, and I'm really excited to be here to have a conversation with my dear friend.
I'm Renuka Jeyapalan, and I'm so excited to be talking to Gabby about acting and filmmaking and TV making and theater making. So, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited we get to do this because, as we had briefly chatted before, we've worked together. We've worked on episodes of Kim's Convenience together. However, with the pace at which we work, we've never had a chance to actually sit down and talk about like where did you go to school, or what was your trajectory, or how did you get here, or how do you feel about the work? There's never been the space to do that.
Yeah, television is so fast, and I think you were at Shaw whenever we were shooting, so we only had you on your days off, which was always Monday. All your scenes would have to be filmed on the Monday.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I remember.
So, just maybe start from the beginning. How did you get into acting? Was there a moment? Was there an experience? Was there a person that kind of led you to this career?
I've tried to answer this question so many times before, and I'd be curious to hear what you have to say to this too, because I grew up as a dancer. I was a Berlinale dancer from when I was 4.5. Mom and dad put me in dance. They put me in piano from when I was 4. I studied singing growing up. The arts were always in my life, and I knew that I had a certain amount of skill at it. I was good at it. It felt natural to me, and I felt happiest when I was performing.
Right.
However, I was trying to think very practically when I was a young person, and I said I was going to be an orthodontist. So I got into Guelph for bio, and this is why I want to ask you, because you did your BSc at UFT. So yeah. So I wanted I wanted something solid, something to really a solid career choice, and that's what I'd always been driving towards until I got into my program and sat my parents down and went, I can't do it. I had a flash forward of the next 4 years of my life, and I could see myself sitting in labs and writing essays and kind of feeling like that's not what was meant to be for me. Yeah. So I ended up switching into theater, which was I don't want to say it wasn't my first choice. I just wanted to be in any sort of performing arts program. Everything had closed by then. So Guelph offered to switch my entry from bio to theater studies. So it was almost not an accident, but yeah.
So theater was just okay, I can get into theater. It's something that's kind of related to the arts and what I performance. So it wasn't I wanted to act. I want to do. It was more okay. Let me just sort of pivot and shift over here until I figure out exactly.
That's it. I think the dream that I had in the back of my mind was being a kids television host. That was my secret want for a really long time. And I'm still trying to figure out my way there. But there was no kids television program at the time. All the TV and radio programs had closed. So yeah, theater just kind of happened. And then I fell in love with it. And now, but I want to know from your trajectory from UFT, and then you went to Ryerson after for film studies.
Yes. So I mean, it was kind of similar to your experience, because I always loved movies, loved movies. I used to watch old movies on TV with my dad when I was growing up, all the Hitchcock, all the classics.
Yes. Oh, yes.
But it was never, I never considered it a career, because no one in my family, no one I knew was in the arts at all, no part of the arts, let alone film. So a lot of doctors in a South Asian family, immigrant family, a lot of doctors and my cousins and stuff. So I was going to be a pediatrician, you know? And so my
Okay.
my
Yes.
trajectory in school was always science
Mhm.
forward, and, you know, went to U of T and did biochem. And, you know, first year, then second year, I had a slot for an elective, and there was a film course, and it was called Contemporary Popular American Film.
Wow.
And, I've told the story a lot of times, but I'm sure that course was a fluff course for all the real film students.
Not for you though.
No, it was like, oh my God, I get to watch movies. It was like watching American movies from 1970 onwards and studying them. So,
Oh my
you
gosh.
know, and so the second movie we watched in that class was The Godfather, which I had seen with my dad
Yes.
on, you know, late night TV. And, but the professor, you know, was showing this one scene from The Godfather. I don't know if you've seen it. And it's like, there's a wedding scene, and Al Pacino's character who plays Michael. He's brought his new girlfriend, Diane Keaton's character, Kay, to the wedding, and he's explaining to her, they're sitting at a little table, and he's explaining to her what his family does is for a living, which is like the mafia and everything. And their blocking was like, he's here and she's here. And in the middle, in the background, was this like mafia henchman who was practicing his speech to tell the Don. And the professor was like, see, look at the blocking here. Like this couple will never be together because, you know, the mafia symbolized by Luca
Yes.
is in between them. And I was like, oh my God, I see it. I can see what filmmaking is. I can see how you can tell a story through everything, that's the mise en scène, everything on the screen. And not that I can see it, I can do that, and I know how to do that. And it was sort of an epiphany moment, and I was like, I think I have to do this now. That was kind of the shift. Although I was very practical like you, I finished my biochemistry degree, but I picked up English and cinema studies as a minor.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then after I graduated, I was like, I'm gonna explore filmmaking, and that's why I went to Ryerson Night School. But during the day, I worked at CAMH and like pharmacology studies.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So yeah, so similar.
Very similar. I love what you said about like part of your origin story being in like classic film. Very similarly, my father and I share a passion for classic film. Some of the first things that I watched growing up were like, I remember like West Side Story and going, all of these people are singing and dancing through the alleys. And I was so tiny and I couldn't really understand why they were singing and dancing and jumping through the alleys, but there was something that like pulled me in. I'm like, they're so invested. I need to know more about this. And then later find out about like musical theater. And I was like, oh, there's a structure to this. This is storytelling. When there aren't words left, they sing. When there are no words left to sing, they dance. Anyways,
musical theater, like something that your primary kind of interest when you're looking at parts and stuff like that, or what is is it shifting now?
It shifts. It shifts. My very first foray into theater was in high school, and we did Crazy for You. I was in grade 9, and I got into the school musical, and I got to wear pretty costumes and put on a full face of makeup, which was like similar to my dance life. So that wasn't totally out of the ordinary. But what was different now was I was part of an ensemble, and we were all like together. We needed to tell this story, and that was exciting. That was my drive, I think, for a long time, was to be in musical theater. And then I got to Guelph and got to work with people like Judith Thompson and Rick Knowles, and found the beauty of taking a script and a play and really like cracking it open and giving myself over to the work. And I love how that stood in contrast sometimes to musical theater, that it didn't have to be a spectacle, that it could actually be like really simple and subdued. And I think when I went to the National Theatre School and my time after now here at Shaw, my passions keep shifting depending on the opportunities that present itself.
Right.
And I think I'm always looking for what's the thing that I want to do next? Like, what is the thing that you would want to do next that you haven't done before, or someone hasn't offered that opportunity, or you want to create that opportunity for yourself?
I mean, I'm very open to things. I'd say I'm open, but I'm also very picky about projects that I do. I have to connect to it. I have to be able to bring something of myself to the project.
Of course.
I never in a million years that I would ever direct television, ever. ever.
Really?
Yeah, no, I'm a film. I love movies. I'm a movie person.
I've been sitting here poring over your resume, and you're such an accomplished TV director, and so I'm just
yeah, no, I like that the auteurist. I'm a snob. I like movies. I want to be the director who kind of has that vision, and I'm just so inspired by the cinema history and everything. So,
Wow.
but as a working in Canada as a director, it's really hard to get work in film. It's really hard to make a movie. It's in this country, like, we're lucky we have some funding and telefilm and arts councils and various funders, but it's really hard to see a movie. And the most heartbreaking part is that you make it by any means necessary, and then nobody sees it. There's no real exhibition for it. And I really want to make stuff that people are going to see. That's and so that's like almost the beauty of television, because, I remember doing my first couple shows and just like, oh, I did this. And then like a few months later, people are seeing it and I can tell them, and like there's an audience. So that was kind of satisfying. It's definitely a different beast creatively, TV, but in terms of what I want to do next, I definitely want to do more movies, but also want to do sort of more, not daring, bold TV. Bolder. And not just story, but like scope. So to push that way. I'm also not a comedy director. I even say this in interviews. I'm not a comedy director. I don't know how to.
Well, you could have fooled me.
I don't know how to direct. I just direct, and so it's always you want to be part. I've been lucky. I've been part of really amazing shows with really great writers, and so I just really play, bring out the story and those characters as much as I can.
Yes, I do understand what you're saying. I think I've been asked the question before, like, as an actor, when you're tackling a comedic role versus dramatic role, like, what are the different tactics you use? And maybe this is similar to what you're saying. There is no difference. I need to tell a story, and I'm using the vessel. So is that kind of what it is for you, like directing a comedy versus directing a drama or something else? It's like,
I don't think I make a distinction. Like, I know and for a comedy you need to know, I mean, obviously there's humor in things, and you need to know where that's coming from, or a character, what's their comedic engine to lean into that. But it's more understanding the story and the script than and one thing for comedy I would say is you're looking for options. So when you're on set, sometimes it's not necessarily a target that you're going towards to get a performance from an actor. It's more, okay, we got that. Let's try this. Let's see what happens there. Let's just for an option. We don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to play in the edit room for a comedy. You need more options for comedy. I would say maybe that's the biggest distinction I've learned.
That's so interesting. That's one of the questions I wanted to ask you, is that if you could indulge me, as a director, what kind of advice would you like offer an actor? And I mean, like, you don't have to like answer that in any other way, but the idea of like options, like me as a performer getting to set and maybe even having that as a small goal in mind, to offer as many options as humanly.
Well, I think it's possible. It's like a collaboration. I don't know. I always it's like trust, right? I have to earn the actor's trust. Like, I'm not expecting the actor just to be like trusting me overnight, because we probably just met. So it's hopefully we're both open. And I often just I want to give the actor the first shot, even some a couple takes if I can on TV, which is crazy and fast sometimes. But the first take, definitely I won't give any direction. Probably maybe the second take as well. I'll be like, I want to see it again. I just want to, and then the third, fourth, we can play. But sometimes we don't have time. So, so then maybe like during the turnaround or like between setups, I might go talk and stuff like that. But this is TV. So I would say film is a very different type of directing than TV directing. But for TV, for an actor to bring to be open, and I know that's hard, not all the time, because but my job as a director is to create the best conditions for the actor to do their best work. So that's for me to make them comfortable, to answer any questions, to approach them with questions. I often will ask, oh, I love what you did here. What were you thinking in this moment? What do you think of this? It's a dialogue versus me, telling them what to do. That's kind of
Absolutely.
how I try to approach it, because it's fun. Like it's fun, and I don't, it's also, I also ask the actor, like, what's your process? If I have time with them before we shoot, what's your process? How do you like to work? I always also say, if I say cut and we're moving on to the next scene or next setup or whatever, and you want to do another, just say stop. I'll always stop. Even if you're like, we're moving and you're like intimidated, say, no, just say stop. I will always stop for an actor to do another take, to try something. I think that's important. But yeah, I want to go back a little bit.
Sorry, I just love that. If I could just like send you some praise for a moment, like the collaborative spirit that you're talking about, I can tell you that I have absolutely felt that tenfold from you when we were shooting our episodes of Kim's together. And I know like we only have so much time, and I know I was only there one day a week, so there's no rehearsals ahead of time. There was really no time to have any prior discussion. But I would get there, and like the spirit that you would embrace me with every single time made it so easy for me to do my work and have a lot of fun. And I was like, I'm looking at my notes right now. The episodes that we did together specifically, and because I went back and watched the moments and watched the clips, I remember those days. I remember feeling good in my body. I remember feeling good, like in my craft. I remember feeling supported, and I remember having fun. And that feeling of having fun, for me, comes out in the playing of it, because I can see myself having fun.
That's so nice to hear.
I just need to tell you that.
I know. I remember I was thinking about some of the scenes that we shot together. I remember one. This is season 4, and it was the one where
Tell me.
Janet takes Jung's photos. Do you remember?
Yeah, it's episode, season 4. It's called In the Bedroom, and I have it written here as the photo shoot.
Yes, you had to spritz Simu in that
for a really long time.
So awkward, not awkward, but it was just like it was a bit of a strange blocking setup, because that, I don't know if you remember, Janet and Gerald's like apartment was like crazy to shoot in. It was really difficult. It was really small, very awkward.
I remember.
Yeah, it was like the blocking was kind of, and then and so there were a lot of elements going on, but you were awesome, because you're like you just brought a lot to those moments that were just hilarious, but also so Chelsea. So yeah, I remember.
Thank you. Sorry, I cut you off. You were gonna say something.
I want to go back a little bit about our journey and to ask you. So you shifted from science to theater, and then you like theater. And then what was your parents' reaction?
The best reaction I could ask for. So I had my acceptance letter from the University of Guelph. I'm sitting in my childhood bedroom, which is still my bedroom in Toronto to this day. And I have this letter in front of me. And like I had that flash forward of the next 4 years of my life, and I went, nope, this is not it. And I called them into my room. And all I said was, I can't do this. It's not going to make me happy. I think I want to be a performer, but I don't really know what that means. And all they had to say was, oh, great. Oh, like, we wish you would have told us sooner, so we could have got you into radio and television, or one of the programs, like perhaps like at Ryerson, because they have like such accomplished people that come out of that program. And they're like, yeah, we just wish that you had told us sooner. But okay, like, what do we have to do? Let's get in touch with Guelph. And like, they helped me make the switch and have been helping me like pivot and uplift me ever since. I got really lucky. Yeah.
That's so great. And so they must be, do they come to all your performances, or like your premieres, at least, of your performances, or?
Oh, yeah, yes. This is my 5th year at the Shaw Festival, and they're here for, like the first previews and opening, and then like at least half a dozen shows peppered throughout the season. So, because they like to see a show near the beginning and like near the end of its run, because we run for so many months here, right? Because the show like evolves and changes and grows and blossoms. They're extremely supportive. So they've gone from helping me switch programs to like driving me to auditions, to oftentimes for those Chelsea Mondays, I'm getting in from Niagara-on-the-Lake like midnight the night before and trying to be on set and in like makeup for 6 a.m., 5 a.m. something, and they're dropping me off, on set and picking me up.
That's
Yeah.
great. That's so
But
great.
like the thing is, I truly, truly don't think that I could be in the position that I am right now if I didn't have a support system. I know for everybody it's different, but I really think it's important, whether it's your parents, your siblings, like a really good group of friends or people that you meet like in college who share similar passions, whoever those people are.
Mhm.
You need to have some kind of support system. And the best part is, for me, my parents aren't in the arts. They don't necessarily know or care what I'm talking about half the time, but they make space for me to just talk shop and divulge all the things that are happening on set or happening in rehearsal. And they make space for me to just like love what I do and talk about what I do,
Yeah.
which fuels me. Like, do you have those people, or do you have that community around you?
I think, well, like my experience, like when I said, okay, I want to be a filmmaker, my mom was like, huh? But no, medicine. And then my dad was like, you want to be a producer? You want to be an actor? Like they didn't know what a director was,
Mhm.
And it was very hard for them to adjust. I think my dad easier, like he was more, okay, he would like clip out from newspapers, like, oh, the film studio is opening up in Toronto, and he would put it on my desk. Like that was the way he
Oh.
could do that. But my mom, I think, took a long time. And it was really only until I had some like public success, like my first short film did really well, that they started to see. I made some things at Ryerson, and I won the awards at Ryerson, and they were there. They were always there, of course, but I think it was really hard. And my dad, that early film, Big Girl, did really well, and they were around for that. Then my dad passed away, and so he didn't see this sort of success that I've had, recently. And then don't want to make this too sad, but my mom had
No,
Alzheimer's, so she also didn't really know
Mhm.
what, they knew when I was struggling. They didn't see, but yeah, my mom a couple years ago had a short film at TIFF, and I brought her out there, and she watched, and I think she knew it was my film. I don't know, but I hope she did. So, but I had really great friends, and I went to the Canadian Film Center after
Mhm.
Ryerson, and I had, I still have friends from that place. That was like a really great experience that changed my life completely. And I think it was that early success of that short film, and it was like a really positive experience, and I found my voice. I kind of had that guide me and support me, if that makes
Oh.
sense, because I kind of had that to remember and hang on to, because there's lots of years of struggling and despair, and like, what am I doing with my life? What is this? I've now reached the point of no return. I just have to keep going, because it's not easy. It's hard. There's like an abyss, after some success. You're always starting again. I still feel like I'm starting again. So it's just, that's
Oh,
the
wow.
journey, that's the process, but we love it. It's like such an amazing, I feel so lucky. I'm sure you do too, that we found something that we love. Like, it's not even a job. It's just, it's
No,
fun. It's
it's
challenging.
fun. It's a passion, and it is. I'm really hooked into your idea of like the abyss, and not to be morbid or anything about it, but like there is this great expanse. If we're talking about art, there's all this possibility. The question is like how to make it happen, or when is it happening. I often joke, as an actor, my job is to wake up every day and look for a new job. Like, even when I'm on a gig, you're looking for the next thing to bookend that. You're looking for the next thing that comes after that. I'm lucky that I can work at the Shaw Festival for like 6 to 8 months out of the year. That's a pretty long contract in the arts that doesn't really exist a lot of other places. But I'll joke with my friends all the time. Like, yeah, you're this day player on an episode, but like, that's great. But you still have to wake up tomorrow and audition. You still have to wake up tomorrow and look for the next thing and the next thing. But if you can't find the joy in that, then it really does turn into.
Yeah, because it's more of a journey. You're on a road. There's no destination, because there's no like, okay, I'm here finally. I think it's just a continuous journey, which is kind of nice too.
Can
Yeah.
can I ask you about, in terms of the journey, the journey that you've taken with all of your success and I know we were talking about TV, but I'm so curious about your life as a filmmaker. because you had briefly mentioned before that they can be different machines or different beasts. And if I can just for a moment, because you are so incredibly accomplished, your piece Big Girl, which you wrote and directed, was the 2005 winner for Best Short Film at TIFF and nominated for a Genie Award for Best Live Action Short Film in 2007. And is that the success that you were talking about, that kind of like
Yeah, that was
that
was the short film I made at the CFC. So it was like I was in the director's lab, and the final project you have is like a big film, a short film. And so that was my film. It's called Big Girl. The producers, the editor, the director, writer are all in that program. So you're collaborating together. And I just really found my voice at the Film Center. Like during the program, you do a lot of exercises, making little film things and whatever. And I feel like I failed. I was like horrible. All my exercises are horrible. I can't even watch them anymore. But there were all the mistakes I made. I feel like I learned from them, and then, remedied them or like wrestled with it, and then made Big Girl. I just found my voice as a filmmaker. And I always say, like, I want to make stuff where people are going to feel something, and that's like, doesn't matter, like feeling. And that feeling is like a deep emotion, whether that is laughing or crying or some combination of both. I love the bittersweet. So that's what I found when I made Big Girl. It was like, oh, that's my voice. That's kind of, and it was about a 9-year-old girl who learns to accept her mother's new boyfriend. Not my experience at all, but the heart of it, and those emotions were very, very true. So yeah, that experience was very positive. It was like just making the movie and it coming out the way it did felt very right. And then to have it, win all these awards and travel the world, it still gets me jobs. Honestly, it still opens doors for people, still remember that short. And so I feel very lucky, and it probably is my favorite thing I've ever done. So
that's so beautiful to hear. And starting with like the incredible success from Big Girl, can you like try and like draw, I suppose, like the joining line from that to a piece like A Bicycle Lesson, to more recently you worked on Ordinary Days, which you co-directed and was the winner for Best Director in 2018 for the Canadian Film Festival. I am an interviewer. I told you I wanted to be a kids television host, so I'm like practicing my skills here. But
the thread. If you want, is there a theme, like a theme that you keep telling? They say that filmmakers have writers have a theme that they keep saying over and over again. And I think mine was like, it's about someone closed who learns to be open, that kind of thing. But it's really this feeling. I want to make someone feel something. And even like in episodes of Kim's, I would try to do that. Like, when Janet, like I really connected to Janet's character and her relationship with her parents. That's what connected me to that show in the first place, why I wanted to direct it. Cause I really related to having immigrant parents and that, parent-daughter relationship. And those pressures and the beauty and the humor and all of that. And so a lot of kind of what I connected to in Kim's was about those relationships. I forget your question. The through line, feeling something. Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
But for you, what's the difference? Is there a difference, or what are the differences between like an acting for theater and then versus acting for screen? Do you find that you are different, or your technique or approach is different?
Well, I'll say, like, very practically speaking, and I don't know if I've told you this before, if we've ever joked about this, but I remember the very first episode of Kim's that I shot. I'm going to be completely honest. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I was relatively, fresh out of theater school. And I had only shot 2 episodes of something prior to booking my first episode of Kim's. And I think it was the director on that episode, or maybe it was the first AD, had to come over after the first take and say, Gabby, you don't have to shout, like you're really projecting to the room.
Right.
And it's great. It's great. But like you're mic'd up and then like all the notes that followed were like, it can be subtle, it can be smaller, you can, we can just hold it like right here. You don't need to play to the back of the room. So I mean, like, technically speaking, very practically speaking, I've had to learn how to go from like trying to hit the back of the audience space-wise, I suppose, or like what with the grandeur of performance, and know how to really like, and it's not make it smaller. It's just like to like maybe like focus it. Do you know what I mean? Like to take that and like focus it. But for me, the same thing I said is before, like when it comes to like comedy and drama, if it's like TV and theater, for me, it's always trying to tell a story. I need to figure out what role my character serves or plays in that episode or in this piece, and what are my relationships to the people around me. And sure, if it's an episode of Kim's, I will like go and do my research and try and get the tone of the show, because like, there's a pattern, there's a tone of the show. So I know that Chelsea enters the door and has to go but cause a little bit of a ruckus and then like leave, right? Like there's a rhythm to that I've had to learn how to do, especially when I'm coming into something that's very well established and everybody has their rhythms and has their ways of working with each other. Do you find that at all? Because between your work with on Kim's Convenience, or if it's on Sort of or Sign of a CRITCH, or any of the other kind of, I guess sitcoms or episodic shows that you've worked on, how do you, I have so many questions here, but like I'll just like try and focus this. But like, how do you know the rhythm of the show? How, like, are you trying to match patterns, like well-established patterns? If it's like Kim's that exist before, are you trying to play into something that exists? How do you make your mark as a director for that episode?
Yeah, it's because TV again is different than film, because in TV it's my job as a director is to execute the showrunner's vision in the time allotted. That's really my job as a TV director.
Right.
It's not my vision, it's the showrunner's vision.
Yes.
But depending on what the show is and where you fall into it, you can have more of a stamp on it. But in terms of that rhythm and whatever, if it's if I'm coming into a show that's already established, like I did on Kim's, I came in on second season. It's like it works so well. Like don't rock the boat. Just really like guide it home. But something like Son of a CRITCH, I did the pilot of that.
I was not for it. Yes. Yeah.
In casting and so, which was so much fun just to be at the start of that project. And helping create the look, with our DP and our production designer. That was super duper fun. And I really love that. It was kind of like the best of both worlds, kind of like film and TV. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's more like finding the truth in anything, and what's the truth in this character, in this script. And I think it goes back to, do I connect to it? Like I really, really connected to Son of a CRITCH. Like I really, don't have the experience of a 12-year-old boy who grew up in the 80s in St. John's, Newfoundland.
Right.
There were aspects of his life, Mark CRITCH's life, that I had older parents. I lived in isolated, we lived up in the suburbs of Toronto, and I had to commute to school. I went to a weird school when I was 12, and we wore a uniform as well. Like there was so many weird similarities, and I knew that story. I knew that character. I knew that life. So I think that's kind of when I join onto a project, when I'm hired, I guess. Yeah. If I connect to it, I don't have to worry about trying to figure out what it is, or it's not like a formula. It's more, I don't know. Like I said, like the difference between TV directing and film directing, TV can sometimes be more like I'm checking all the time. Like, oh, is this the show? Like Kim's, is this the shot? Like this doesn't
yes.
Kim's convenient shot, or like, is this the tone, or checking, and is this what the showrunner wants? Whereas in film, it's more instinct. I'm following an instinct more. Like I have and then I would love to like try to merge those two, and that's what CRITCH felt like to me. I also did GINNY GEORGIA, and that felt like that as well. I was working more on instinct and feeling, which was much more a place where I like to work. Yeah.
Oh, that's so fascinating. And do you know what it was on Ginny and Georgia that enabled that feeling of being able to work more instinctually?
One thing was it wasn't network. It was network. So in network, when you're doing a network show, you have only a certain amount of time that the episode can be. So
Yes.
you have to give the showrunner options in the edit room. So you do coverage, you do all so they can cut it to time, they can compress things.
Mhm.
Whereas on Ginny and Georgia, there is a time for the episode, but not locked into 50, whatever, 46 minutes or whatever it is. So I could do oneers. I could do a scene as a oneer, which I could never on cams. I could never do that. Like one time I tried to do one on cams and I was like, I think I did the take like 12 times. And Kevin White and Ins Choi were like, okay, Renuka, I think we got it. We got it. I'm like, no, you might need a different version because of the time. I was so paranoid. But yeah, that was one thing. It was freeing to not be locked in. But yeah.
That's so interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Question for you.
Yes.
Do you have a dream role? Is there a role that you've seen in the past that you have, oh, I would have loved to have done that?
Okay.
Or is there a role that you have yet to do that you would love to do, whether it's in a genre or a type of character or a different period or whatever?
Yeah, I think I'm really waiting for the opportunity to play, and I don't even like the way I'm about to phrase this because I don't believe in this, but this is how I'm going to phrase it. But like against type, but like I don't even know what that means. But let's just say I tend to play characters that are, I'm petite. I read a certain way. I read very young on screen and on stage. I tend to play teenagers who are bubbly and have a certain joie de vivre about them. But I'm really waiting for my opportunity to play like a true antagonist or like a villain, to be able to tap into a part of me that I don't think people see on a daily basis, but I know is inside of me. It's like there's a part of me that can very naturally be tapped into.
Okay.
that I could offer forward. And I don't exactly know what that looks like. I get to play a lot, like in my life in theater. I do get the chance to play a lot of my range, or again, whatever range means. I get to play a lot here, but I think I would love the opportunity in TV and film to again like play against type.
And
Yeah.
would you ever, because I've worked with actors who then went on and like created their own content because they were always getting cast as a certain way. And so they're like, I can do more. And they wrote parts for themselves that would feature these different aspects. Is that something you'd be interested in doing? Like kind of empowering yourself in that way?
Yes. And then also that idea is incredibly intimidating. It because I haven't really tapped into that part of my life as a writer. When I'm creating, it's it's mostly been in the world of dance, like as a choreographer. That's where I create, and I'm not necessarily putting like pen to paper, but I'm writing story and creating in a different way. But I would love to. I think I just don't know how to start. And can you offer, as someone who does write and create, how do you go from that first moment of inspiration to taking that idea to communicating with somebody to like actually believing in it enough that you're gonna give it to people? That just feels so beyond.
I think like I'll give you an example. So I like 10 years ago, I quit my day job and I moved to Los Angeles, not to make it, just for 3 months to for a vacation, basically, just to live, to write. And my goal was to like just write one page. Really, I was the smallest goal possible so I could actually complete it. But I heard on my second night there, I heard a celebrity story about a woman who had a one night stand with a very famous person. I was like, oh, I like that. I like, oh, and I kept thinking about that connection. And then a month later, I was like, oh, I think I can write a script, a feature. I think I'll just write something. I'll just try. And I wrote a script. And then, it was about like a before sunrise type of movie about a woman who meets a very famous person, and they have like this night that they connect, like a before sunrise, but you know, something like that.
Yeah.
And now it's 10 years later, and I made the movie. It's done. It took that long.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's very small, but we're premiering this weekend at South by Southwest for it. And
Oh
it was
my
a very
gosh.
long process. And the only way I could like have that kernel from that initial story I heard, it was just like going back to that feeling I had, like, oh, I think that's something. I like this connection. I like, and just sort of like building blocks on that.
Okay.
And over the years, definitely was like put it in a drawer for a bunch of years, then pulled it out. But it was always going back to that initial spark. Like, why did I connect? And then inevitably you're like, oh wait, this is me. This is my story, or this is like my emotions, or this is what I was going through, or whatever. But I think it's, if you have an idea that you can't let go of, maybe you have an idea and then it's just like, it comes back, it keeps coming back, then maybe that's something that you can just explore and like set small goals for yourself.
Okay.
I'm just going to write a one line of dialogue. That's achievable. You know, I'm just going to write this like paragraph of the scene of what it would be about, and just like those little building blocks, and keep sort of doing it. And then eventually you're going to be like, I really want to work on that. I want to see where it goes, and those characters will take over. So yeah, so that would be my advice about writing and where to start if you've never really known where to begin, because it is intimidating. Writing is the hardest part. Writing is the most important part, and it's the hardest part for sure.
I do remember before any of Kim's or anything happened, this is like years before, my first professional gig was in the writer's room for a youth TV series, The Next Step. And I do remember the kind of electricity that would run through a room of writers. And it was a slightly different writer's room because we weren't we weren't like breaking full scripts. It was more we'd set like the boundaries for what could happen in the scene. They'd be, do you know what I mean? Like we'd propose ideas, and then the actors would get in there and like improvise the scenes. Like anyways, it was a wild thing. These were like teenagers who were doing it. Like they were so talented. But like I do remember like the spark and electricity of like someone having an idea and everybody just like hopping on to like to feed. If I'm just trying to relate to that, like that, whatever that.
I mean, that's the beauty of, I've never, been in a TV writer's room, but it's like, oh my God, there's so many people. It's collaboration. You get to like, there's more than one brain. When you're doing a film, it's just you. And it's the hardest thing ever. It's really difficult.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. Okay. So I know, I never like this question, but I think we have to talk about it. Diversity.
Okay.
And like, what is that something that you think about? Like, being South Asian and an actor, is that something you bring to projects, or like you're thinking about that, or at all, or is it just, or has it helped you, hindered you? What are your kind of general thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, well, here are some initial general thoughts. I am Tamil, Indian, Sri Lankan. I am always going to be. And when I walk into a room, when I audition for a part, this is me. What you see is what you get. And I think my lived experiences and the life experiences that my parents have given me, and the way they've raised me, is always going to make its way into my performance and into my character, because that's me. So I don't know if I'm trying to think if I think consciously about bringing that into the room. I'm not sure. And I think it was a really interesting experience with Kim's, because I auditioned for just like a one-off episode, and that's what I thought it was going to be. And it was exciting that it just kept rolling into something else. But I never, when I auditioned for the role, it wasn't for a South Asian,
right,
bubbly, whatever. It was like, there were, I don't even remember what the thing was, but like, it was fun to just, inhabit her and not think about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's one thing with Kim's was good, because I was, I would be on the other side casting too, when we were casting our, recurring or a day play or something with the director. It wasn't really, they wouldn't sort of say this ethnicity. It was all open. So that was, but that's interesting that you don't really, it's not really something you're conscious of. You are that. So you come into a room, that's you. It doesn't have to be sort of mentioned or kind of, I don't know. I'm the same way. I'm almost I almost like don't want to be pigeonholed or boxed by that, because I want to do a lot. Like, I don't want, I almost feel like I'm Tamil, Sri Lankan, Canadian. I don't know if I'm worthy of telling those stories yet. I haven't yet told a real kind of story about my parents' background or culture, because I was born here. I'm very Canadian in some ways, but that's something I feel I have to earn. Even though that is what my background is, I still have to earn it and feel like it's the right story and time to tell it.
Yes.
So, when you film, as a director, you get hired on things. You're like, well, is this because I'm checking these boxes, or is it because you want me? And if I feel like I'm checking boxes for people, I'm like, no, I'm not interested at all. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally hear you, and I resonate with that feeling. I do often think, because a lot of the roles, if not, are unlike when I auditioned for Kim's, a lot of the roles that do come across my table are South Asian, looks between this age and this age, and can play, and possibly can speak this language or whatever. And I sit down and have those moments where I go, can I tell this story? I was born here. I know as much about my culture as I've been able to glean from my parents and my life experiences. But I know that is a tricky one. Who deserves to tell? Who deserves, or like, have you earned, the right to tell?
Yeah, because it's such a responsibility. Like, I definitely do want to tell those stories in a certain way, but it's like, it is a responsibility. And like, when I first went to Sri Lanka, this is a few years ago, for the first time, I was just like, oh my gosh, there's so rich. There's so much here. So much I don't know. But yeah, it's something that I feel, I don't know. I feel the shows and work that I've done is it hasn't been boxed in yet for that, I guess. I don't know.
No, I feel very similarly. I don't know if I have. Maybe this is because I'm still early in my career. Maybe somebody's sitting out there listening, going, "Just you wait." Like, I don't know. I don't know what the years will bring. But I do feel like I've been given the opportunity to, I don't know, be myself, bring myself into the room, and just do that, and like, that's enough. Like, for Chelsea, I just got to come and play and be, and that felt like enough. And I want more experiences like that, like you said, to just tell the truth, to tell a story, and to just exist, because existing is like hard enough some days. So I'm just like, if I can accomplish that, I'm
can you tell, like, I know that you have I think you have a show that you're preparing for, is that right, at Shaw? And like, you're the lead, right? Is that right, in this one?
Yeah.
I'm curious, because I saw the child, it was Chitra, and that's my cousin's name. So I was like, oh, I want to know what this is about.
Oh, get out of here. Okay. Yeah. So I'm at the Shaw Festival, going into my 5th season, and we work in rep. So everybody in the company is working on 2 shows at a time, and you rehearse and perform Kamsa. And the 2 shows that I'm doing are Chitra by Rabindranath Tagore, and I'm playing Chitra, an Indian warrior princess who is she's struggling. She's looking for love. She wants to be accepted, and she opens, up to the gods and asks them to make her eternally beautiful, because that's what she thinks will bring her true happiness. And anyways, as these stories go, the gods go, sure, we'll grant you your heart's desire. However, there's a lesson to learn here, and the piece is about her learning the lesson that beauty on the outside is not everything that it's cracked up to be, because you really have to love and honor what's on the inside. And what's really exciting is I've often found this with the pieces that I'm working on here at the Shaw. They somehow will parallel kind of journeys that I'm personally going on. So Chitra is a really important piece to me right now, because I think there's a lot of self-discovery that Gabriella needs to do, and I get to kind of do that with Chitra. And the other piece that I'm doing is the importance of being earnest. We're doing a good old Oscar Wilde, and I'll be playing Cecily Cardew. So hopefully there's a beautiful wig being made for me somewhere, and some like big gowns. I love the dress up part of it.
Well,
And
those sound like two. I mean, I know the Cecily role, but the Chitra, that sounds like a really great role to exercise, like a different part of your range too. And when will those be? Like, when are they on the stage?
yeah, so about mid-June till early October, both those shows will be playing. So maybe I'll see you.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll see you
definitely.
around. You should come down. This is again, it's the repertory festivals are so different than other jobs where like you get to do a show, you rehearse for a couple of months and then you perform for another couple of months. So unlike an episode of TV, I'm repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating.
Right.
So I have,
because like, you know, theater, they say is an actor's medium, film is director's medium, TV is a writer's medium. With theater, you know, you're doing a show every night, repeating it, but you're finding new things in it. Like that's, you know, you said your parents come at the beginning and then maybe the end of a run.
Yeah.
There's a discovery. There's still always discoveries being made.
There's always discovery. For me, if you're not making discovery, then just go home. If I hit that mark in my career, if I hit a point where I've just stopped discovering and we're in like, you know, we're on performance 60 something and I don't care anymore, then I think I will just stop doing it, because for me the joy is showing up and finding a new moment or finding it like a new like secret little wink or smile with someone backstage, even like you know, just like changing up the energy of the moment, or like walking a new path to work that day, or like just like switch up the rhythm. Like I'm always looking for a new way to approach my work, otherwise I don't want to do it. I know like that's really like I don't mean to be like so adamant in that stance, but I really feel that way. If I'm not discovering something new in my work, then why?
I agree. You want to discover, you want to be challenged, you want to grow. Like, what's the point of just doing the same thing over and over? It's like
no. And if I may add, in terms of like new experiences, I worked on my first short film last fall, and that was a new experience, unlike anything I've known, and you will understand this because you're so accomplished in that space. But the rhythm was completely different. Like we had such a short time frame to get things done, and there was so much to get done, and there was never enough time, and the story was so important to tell, and like it was like so different from theater and so different from TV. I couldn't believe it. It was like so exciting and terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we have to wrap up now, but it's interesting how like I feel like film, you can do. Sometimes you can make more time. I don't know. I did this one short bicycle lesson where I wanted to make the actors the first part of the process, not the last part. And so the first thing I did was I cast the actors, 2 actors, and then I rehearsed with them separately. And then we rehearsed on set, on like the location, without a camera for like 2-3 days. And then we brought in the camera and we blocked for a day without shooting anything with the DP. And then we shot. And it was the most glorious experience and so satisfying of a process. It didn't even matter what the film was at the end, but just discovery and having input from the actors. It was about a mother-daughter story. It's kind of, you know, about my life. And so I just wanted to be more authentic and real and positive. And, but film, I feel like you can do that kind of model, or you could do, everything's planned out or whatever. Whereas TV, it's harder, especially, you know, Canada, we only have this amount of time, this amount of a budget. It's very fast. It has to be a certain process.
Yeah.
And I don't know much about theater and how that process in rehearsal goes as well. But that's what it's interesting, the different kind of processes that each of those mediums can have.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Anyways, the short film that I did, it's called One Small Visit.
Yeah.
When it's
and why was it the experience different? Was it still satisfying? Was it just a different kind of rhythm that you were experiencing?
Different rhythm that I was experiencing for the first time, and I could not believe how much needed to be accomplished in so little time.
When you say rhythm, what do you mean by rhythm? Like, what is it?
Like, even like I'm talking about the rhythm of like the people in the room, like the way we would set up try and get this shot and get this moment like accomplished or communicate what we needed to, and then everything would just sweep up and move, and we're moving on. Like it's like that. It's like everybody picks something up and just runs, and I couldn't okay, because like with Kim's, I'm like, I'll just go and sit in my green room for a little bit, or I'll just like hang out by craft.
On board, everyone's doing. Did you find that you could do more takes or less takes with the film?
Less takes, but yeah, less takes, and they felt like they were. Maybe it's a particular story that we were telling. It just like felt really like important. I felt like I had, and you'll know this with the work that you do. There's certain things that come across your table, and you're like, this is important. I need to tell this, and then it feels really loaded, and then the pressure's on. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what I was feeling for the first time in a really long time. Anyways, that's about to make its journey or its circuit this year, so I'm excited to see how that goes, because I don't know the film world. So,
right. Well, I'm sure it'll be some festival or wherever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It'd
be nice if it'd be cool. It's what, do you still audition for film and TV when you're at Shaw?
It's hard, and I can't really, because I'm here like spring through the fall, and I miss the whole, I miss the summer to audition. I miss, like, you know, whatever. It's not necessarily like pilot season, but you know what I mean? Like I'm missing the whole.
Would you ever I don't even know how to take a break from Shaw to then like explore more film and TV stuff that you could?
I'd be open to that option, because Kim's was so generous, and I got like my Chelsea Mondays. I know how rare and like how rare an opportunity that was. I know it's never going to happen like that again. So I know that if I'm looking for more opportunities to express myself in the TV and film world, I have to be the one to like open that door and say, I'm available. Let's go. So yes, I think so. But that would also mean stepping away from my theater life, and that's, I don't know, you know.
It's hard too.
It's hard too. But anyways, so that's what's up next for you.
We finished that film. It's called Stay the Night. Actually, Andrea Bang is our lead. She's the character, and Andrea Bang's from Kim's Convenience. She plays Janet, and so it's just promoting that, and then probably do some TV directing this summer.
Amazing. Oh, amazing. Yeah. And maybe you're visiting Niagara-on-the-Lake.
And yeah, definitely visiting Niagara. two performances.
I'd love to see you here. I would love to share like this part of my life, which is.
Yeah, because can I tell you? I don't want this to sound bad, but like, you know, I was thinking about how you want to feel something. I haven't seen a lot of theater. I don't go to a lot of theater, and I've never been moved by theater. I've never truly been moved by theater. I remember a friend of mine, she was living in New York, and she saw Philip Seymour Hoffman do Death of a Salesman on Broadway in like previews or something. And she said she was just like in tears the whole time. It was so moving and emotional. And I was like, oh, I want to feel that in theater. I've never felt that. But I don't know why. Yeah,
that's okay.
I've seen enough, so I think I have to go see more theater. So I definitely will be.
Okay, goal for 2022: move Renuka through the power of theater. I have a goal. Listen, I need something to work towards. So
bigger goals than that. Lovely talking to you, and I love hang out like in person, like for real, because we never actually, this is our first kind of hangout. So one day, hopefully that happens too.
I hope so too. And thank you so much for indulging me with all my questions about your work. I'm such an admirer of your work and the trajectory that you've taken in your career, and I can't wait to see what's next as you like continue to like search for truth and like move people with your art.
And maybe we can work together again too.
I would love that. I would love that. Again, you are such a joy to work with. Like, you're such a generous director. So I would very much like that.
Thank you. Lovely working with you too.
Oh, okay.